Whew. Oh, sweaty. Are you joking? Oh, I just snapped it. Oh, lumpy soil, sweaty day. Stick's getting shorter. Good morning, lovely friends. How are you today? I hope you're well. I hope you're somewhere cooler than me. It's not that hot today. It's only sort of mid-20s, which I guess is about 80 Fahrenheit. Oh, I'm sweating. But it's humid again. I was rather hoping not to have a garden day today. I was wanting to have a break. However, yes, I know, I keep saying it, I'm still really behind. We're approaching the middle of June. I haven't got my squash in. Ridiculous, haven't got my structures up. So I thought today's quite overcast, so no blaring sunshine. I thought actually this is the perfect day for transplanting the squash, and I really, really need to get them out of their pots. They don't like being in pots for a long time. Where was I reading it recently? I think it might have been Vital Seeds, I can't remember, but they were saying not to have squash in pots for much longer than 3 weeks. I think 3 weeks is too short for me because obviously I start them at home, then they go into my landing for a bit of hardening off, then they come to the garden, to the cold frame for some hardening off. Yeah, I think if I was to sow them and transplant them all in the space of 3 weeks, that's just not long enough. It might be different if you were bringing things on in the garden. I don't know. Anyway, the point is they really need to go out today. And I'll be honest with you, I've been slightly dreading it because the bed underneath the rose bush, those 3 mini beds in main bed number 4, nearest the cold frame, they're the 3 really, really gnarly, nasty beds. So what I'm doing this morning in preparation for all this planting, I think I've got about 23, 24, 25 squash, I'm not sure. It's over 20. Yay, thank goodness. Tons didn't germinate. When I start planting, I'll go through the different types and what have you. But anyway, so what I'm doing this morning in preparation, apart from getting soaking wet, is the 2 gnarly beds under the rose bush, which will have horizontal squash. I've soaked those. I've put a few cans of water on to soak them because in the top it's just rubble. While that's soaking in, I'm getting on with building the teepees for the vertical squash. Once the teepees are built, which will take some time because it's all lashed them together, so you've seen just now. Each TP is made of 3 main uprights, get those lashed at the top, and then as the TP is like that, I then lash sort of in a zigzag going up, do little side support lashes just to make the whole structure really strong, and also to give the squash something to climb up, and also to give the fruit something to rest on if they get big and heavy. So that's going to take me, I would say it's probably about an hour that's going to take me to do all that. Once that's done, I can come back to those soaked beds, get my rake, my fork, whatever, and just try and get them to a stage where I can actually plant something in. Normally when I'm doing the horizontal squash, I'd lay the cardboard over the top, get it all weighed down, cut holes in the cardboard and plant through the cardboard. This year I'm not going to put the cardboard on to start with, just because I think it's going to be a bit of a handful getting them in. So I want all the space I need, then later on I can put the cardboard on. For anyone who's not watched the channel before, the reason I do the vertical squash, so all the squash that I grow horizontally, they're the squash which I hope to get big fruits from. I'll go through those when we do it. The vertical ones are the ones where the squash fruits themselves are a bit smaller, hanging. But doing them vertically just means I can get twice as much in each bed than if I was doing them horizontally and they were sprawling everywhere. So it's all about that thing, isn't it, of making a small garden really work to the max. I first tried it 2018. I was just thinking the sticks for the TPs, they're getting shorter each year because the bit that sits in the soil, by the end of the summer, some of it does snap off a bit. But yeah, so this is the 4th year I'll be doing it. I'm chuffed that those chunky bits of wood have lasted this long. I didn't think they would. So yay. Right. None of this is going to happen unless I get out there and do all the preparation first. The sowing bit, the planting out bit, that's the fun bit, isn't it? I hope it's fun. But none of that will happen until I've done all the prep. So I'm going to do that, and then we'll reconvene out there. We'll start doing some planting, and I'll talk about the different varieties, why I'm growing them in different ways, and what I hope to achieve with them. It's going to be a long, hot, sweaty day today. Gird yourselves. Phew! I'm finally ready to start planting. Good grief. So I'm going to start with my horizontal butternuts, horizontally grown butternuts, in not the rose bed, that's the next bed over. This is the really gnarly bed. So normally when I come to plant, as I will with the teepees, I just use my hori knife to make a hole. I've got my big knife. Yeah, because it really is such a gnarly bed. So my thinking, actually that soaking really helped. I'll give you a closer look now. Oh, sorry, I should just say, I've also got all my kit ready and to hand. So, spade for making a hole. It's actually not as bad as I thought it was going to be after that soaking and bashing, but there are going to be areas, I think, that are so lumpy, the roots won't have good contact. So I've got there my jug full of compost, into which I've mixed some chicken manure pellets. So if I make a hole that's got really big gaps, rubbly gaps in, I can put the compost in just so those roots have got contact. Also, I have my cut off water bottles and a stick. The stick goes down to help hold it into the ground. This will get buried alongside the plant with the spout end tucked under where the roots are. Generally speaking, squash really don't like having their stems wet. It's the most delicate part of the plant. So I like to water via the bottles to get the water underneath the plant. Possibly today though, I may give them a top water just to help settle them in, especially where I'm using compost too. Okay, let me bring you in a bit closer. You can see the state of this bed. I've got the first one planted and then crack into the next 20. I think I counted 24 in the end. Whoopla. Okay, so I've got my hole. Oh, sorry. Stumbly. I've got my hole ready. Like I said, it's not anywhere near as bad as it was this morning before I gave this all a soaking and a bashing, and it is still fairly lumpy. So I think, yeah, it won't do any harm to have this extra compost chicken manure. Let's just pop this bottle underneath. Get that secured in with the stick. The brick, by the way, in case you're wondering why that's there. People who wonder why my bricks are everywhere. This soil really is sticky still. Just bringing it around because that hole was too big. Yeah, the brick is there because it's to remind me to not plant any further because I'm going to have climbing beans the other side of it. Gosh, it all feels like such an effort today because of this humidity. Right, let's make a nice snug little home. I watered these all yesterday really thoroughly, but crikey, they're dry. Give it a firm in, obviously, as always. Planting it on level with where it was growing in the pot. It's one plant I don't sink any deeper. Right, let's get some water on that because it was really dry, despite the fact that the earth it's gone into is moist. Whew. Mammoth effort today. Right, and so on with the next 7. 4 in this bed. Spacing wise, I like to give them about 1 square metre each to grow in because they're both greedy for nutrients and greedy for water. So yeah, give them a bit of space. All right, little one, off you go. I've done my bit for you now. Now it's your turn. Oh my goodness. It's all taking forever today. It's just getting hotter and hotter and more humid as the day goes on. It's that kind of day that just utterly saps your energy. It's funny, I just saw Gary arriving and he said even before he's done anything, he just wants to go home. He feels exhausted just coming over here. Oh, bit of cloud cover, glorious. Right, I have though planted all my horizontal squash now. 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I'm going to quickly put 10 climbers in, that'll be 22, and then I've got 2 spares which are going elsewhere. More of that tomorrow if my body lets me come back here tomorrow. I've also, I don't know, I must have lost a bag. Oh, what am I sitting on? I can't find any more water bottles to plant for watering. I don't know where I've put them. Never mind, let's get these in. This is the black fatsu. I'll show you them all once they're in. Yeah, it's the kind of day where, really, it's a day for sort of indoor jobs, but I'm not at the stage where I can do that. And you know how I've been saying for ages, oh, I'm really late, I'm really behind. And a lot of people saying, oh, don't worry, everything will catch up. It's not, and I was mentioning this the other day, it's not a case of, my plants are behind. It's a case of the prep, the beds, the structures, all of that was behind. And I know, I absolutely know, I've got almost a barometer for knowing just how far behind I am compared with my normal progress each year. I know that I'm behind for a fact because we're into tennis season and I'm not getting any tennis. I don't mean to play. Oh, it's a long time since I could play. Imagine that now on these poor old knees. No, it's where are we? We're a couple of days away from the final of the French Open. I've missed the whole thing pretty much. I've listened in the evening to a couple of games, but you know, nothing like in previous years, because this is what I mean about how, you know, yeah, this year went wonky. This year's gone really, really wonky, and I'm never letting this happen again. I've written a schedule out for next year already. But by now, when the days are getting so hot like this, I love this weather for just sitting and lolling and doing nothing. Not that any of us have time to do that, do we? Maybe at the weekends. But yeah, this kind of temperature, it's actually I find it too hot for working. So normally by now, from the beginning of June, everything's in, and then basically what I do is I come each day to do my watering, and then on 2 or 3 of those visits during the week, I'll do one extra little job, like pinching out the side shoots on my tomatoes and tying them in. Just little tiny jobs like that, maybe an hour. So yeah, a daily visit. In all, it's about 2 hours. Walk down here. It takes me about an hour and a half to water the whole garden. Walk home. So the routine is do that, get it done in the morning, and then get home, rest of the day in the relative cool of the flat, and unless we get over 30, in which case my flat cannot cool down. But yeah, then the rest of the day at home on the sewing machine, or you know, doing something else, and then I can listen to the tennis all day. Yeah, not this year, but like I said, I've looked at this year where I'm at now, thought about where I've been in previous years, and I made a plan the other evening. I've basically gone from now, I've worked backwards, bearing in mind how long each job has taken me. Because I think inevitably, you know, jobs are taking me a little bit longer now than they did 4 or 5 years ago when my knees weren't so bad, whatever. So I've worked backwards and kind of reached a point to say, right, first week of March, this is what I need to be doing each week so I can stay on top of it. Oh, I mean, it's beautiful, beautiful weather. I adore the summer. And actually, this is another thing I was just saying to Gary as he was coming in. Days like this, I love it if I'm down here tinkering with my tomatoes. I adore my tomato tinker time. I think Paul was saying himself the other day that if you could only grow one vegetable, it would be tomatoes. And I would be exactly the same. Just that joy of the tinker time, the scent they release, the memories that flood back with that scent release. Gorgeous. Anyway, I'm not doing tomatoes today, I'm doing squash. They are a really important part of my as self-sufficient as possible garden for a couple of reasons. Well, firstly, I love them. I really, really like them. But the 2 main reasons, one, as a veg, I suppose it's a fruit really, isn't it? As a fruit, veg, they're incredibly, bye-bye aeroplane, they're incredibly versatile. If I've got a smallish one, I like to just scoop out the seeds and stuff it with pine nuts and sun-dried tomatoes and goat's cheese and roast the whole thing. Yum, 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 yum. Love it. Love a whole roasted squash with the stuffing. I chunk them up and use them in curries, soups, stews. You can make a nice sort of puree sort of mash from them to go with your sausages as an alternative to mashed potato. So yeah, they're really, really versatile, which is fantastic. It's that thing of, especially sort of through the winter and now into the hungry gap, where the choices of what's left in the pantry are getting smaller and smaller and smaller all the time. The great thing with the squash is, yeah, we can do all sorts with them, even sweet dishes. I've never tried making sweet dishes like pumpkin pie or anything like that. But yeah, really versatile. But the most brilliant thing about them, and this will be particularly pertinent for anyone living completely off-grid and not wanting to waste any energy that they are creating via solar or wind power. I don't need any fuel, any power at all to store them. Brilliant. I leave them to get as ripe as possible on the vine. So it's usually about October, first couple of weeks of October that I harvest. Snip them off the vine, give them a little bit of a wipe down, clean them, and then they go underneath my bed. That's where I store them. I've got a big old bed, it's got like a huge space underneath it. Yeah, stick them under the bed. I keep a basket of 3 or 4 of them in the kitchen for use, but they will store quite happily in my flat under the bed like that for a year. More. They would store for more than a year, except they don't because I eat them. Now the thing is, some varieties do store better than others, and I'm not going to go through a whole list of them now, but for instance, a couple of years ago I grew Carnival, which were beautiful. Why didn't I get any seeds for them this year? I can't remember. But I did notice that by sort of Christmas, January, one of them was going a bit squishy. So if you're trying new varieties and storing them, just do that thing of, once a week or so, do a bit of an inventory of your pantry, give things a squeeze, check things over, and if something looks like it's just about to turn, use it up. And if you've got others from the same family or the same variety, get those used up first too. But something like bog standard butternut, I've never yet had a butternut go even vaguely soft. They're great. Right, stop nattering, Vivi, get planting. I don't want to move now. That's the thing. I'm so tired and it's so comfortable here and the sun's so beautiful. Right, come on, chop chop, let's get on. Oh, what a relief. I can't tell you what a relief this is to have 5 more beds done. And actually with the tomatoes and the celery at the weekend, that's 8 beds completed in the last few days. I'm so happy. I'm so tired. I can hardly express my happiness. I have shadow issues. It's really bright. But in here, maybe I should come the other way. Hello, Vivi's head. It's going to be so bright. To grow horizontally, I have got 2 of my firm favourites, Rouge, Vif de Tompe. This, let me give you the spelling of it rather than to a caption. This is Rouge Vif de Tompe. This is the beautiful Cinderella pumpkin. There's a lot of growth in there, they're raring to go. Fab. So I've got those 2, giving them, I do need to come this way, giving them plenty of space. They've got a little over, actually they're probably more like 1.5 square metres each. So hopefully they'll enjoy that. And then these 2 beds, there's 4 in each bed. This is my bog standard butternut squash. This is Waltham butternut. So as I was explaining when I was planting them, I've done all the plantings and then retrospectively applied the cardboard, but just leaving that gap for each plant so I can get to the watering pots. The sticks help to hold the water bottles in place to stop the foxes pulling them out, but also hopefully at some point there'll be a mass of foliage and I won't be able to see the bottles, but I can see the stick. I can aim at the stick and hit the water bottle. Yes. So 8 squash in this bed. The Rouge Vif, I would only expect 1 squash from each plant. the butternuts, I would hopefully have 2 squash from each plant. Then into the teepee bed. Oh, a nice little bit of shade by the rose bush. In here I've got 3, and these are black fatsu. The celery. This is the celery from last year, which you can just see it's just beginning to form its little flower heads. If I remember correctly, when I did this seed gathering last year, I think it was middle of August when I gathered the seed, because we were due quite a big storm. Was it Storm Ellen? It might have been. So I wanted to gather the seed before they got blown everywhere. So maybe it'll be a bit slower this year because of the cold May. But yes, that's going to be in there for a while. The next TP, again 3 planted, 1 just around there. And these are sweet dumpling. Hello, sweet dumpling. They look alright, they look well. Let's hope they stay looking well. Into the next bed. Oh, and just to say, this little gap here, I might get a few bits of seeds, yeah, well, what else, Vivi? Some salady bits. In the past, I did try underplanting the tripods, but actually they get a bit crowded, so nothing really works underneath. But that's fine. Hopefully at some point there'll be, again, so much foliage, we won't even see the ground. I will, though, I think I'm going to empty the compost bin and use whatever's in it for some mulch. And then this bed, again, 2 a little bit closer together. Again, these are ones that will get a bit big. They are Muscat de Provence. That one looks a little pale. And then these 4, they're all a bit gangly. I've got 2 on this side, which are the jack-be-little. If you remember, I did them last year, and they're the gorgeous little mini pumpkins. They look just like a jack-o'-lantern, but mini versions. And then this side, and it will be my last year, this is 2 delicata. I really love them, I really enjoy them, but they just don't seem to do well for me. I literally sow 10 seeds and end up with 2 germinating. So those are the 2. And then, not much by way of fruit. Oh, actually, what's really pleasing, let me come this way. There's folk around, so I'm just being mindful of people's privacy. You can see I've just done my watering. The tomatoes, obviously. But what's great now is bed number 3 is completely planted. Woohoo! Bed number 4, well, it is completely planted and seeded, but that's the cocoa that I haven't done anything. So I've reseeded in cells, and very soon all the broad beans will be out, and it'll be time to start thinking about putting something in that bed. It never ends, does it? Oh, I'm so happy today to get these in. The next big job, it's the last big job. Oh, I hope the goddesses above help me, but I've got to do all my bean arches, both for this path and that one. And all those beans that I started in pots, they will all need to be planted out. But the direct sown ones, some of them, this side is Coco Sophie, this side is Gigantes, some of them have actually escaped slug damage. Amazing. See, escaped, yay! Oh, not escaped. Escaped. Ooh, not escaped. So, right into the sun. Wow, it's late in the afternoon and the light is still so strong. My rose is finally coming into flower. Normally it would have been in flower about 4 weeks ago, but I did give it a really hard prune this winter, and then we had the cold May. I'm delighted to see it back. I'm really delighted to see the beginnings of my teepees. I need to do a little bit more lashing for the next layer up, but that can wait for another day. Right, my lovelies, I'm going to say cheerio to you all because I am absolutely, I'm all in. I'm all in today, and I'm trying to preserve a little bit of energy to come back for another full day tomorrow. So for now, I'm going to say cheerio to you all. And yeah, hopefully we're all breathing sighs of relief to get our gardens planted up. See you soon, everyone. Cheerio.